Hello once again everyone and welcome back to another discussion video. Seems that these are the videos I'm cracking out. I would do an update, but there's not much going on in my life that I can really talk about at present. So instead, as I recently finished The Casual Vacancy by J K Rowling, I'm gonna talk about that. I picked it up recently and it's taken me about a week or so to read it. A week and a half maybe. I've definitely seemed to gone through it quite quickly because it's a really good book actually. When it first came out, I was like, no, I'm gonna hold off on getting this. Not that I had heard anything bad. It was just, in my opinion, when it came out 3 years ago, I was not in the place to read something else by J K Rowling. I still am obsessed with Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter, the books and the films, and I didn't want to tarnish Harry Potter, which obviously J K Rowling wrote, with reading another book and then discovering she's not as good as writers said originally thought, or she didn't. If she's written another book and it turns out to be not as good, and I'll dislike it or something along those lines, it might mar my view of Harry Potter. So I was like, no, I'll hold off on this. But recently the Casual Vacancy being turned into a BBC drama, which I have not watched, and I'm gonna see if I can catch up on that somehow in the future, because I would quite like to check out how they actually do turn this book into it. I think it was a 3-parter, so I think that was typically, they would be on about an hour, so 3 hours. A 500-page book into 3 hours. I reckon it could be done. I mean, it's quite a lot that goes off in this book. Events and stuff spread out over a couple of weeks, but again, it's not quite as bad as some other books. But yeah, so the book's premise is basically you have Barry, who's basically, he's a council official on Padford Council, and he's like a really well liked guy in the community. He originally grew up in the fields, which is basically like a council estate that's sort of attached onto Padford, even though it doesn't really want it, because you've got Padford, the fields, and then you've got like Yarville, which is the local town, city, I don't know, in close proximity to each other, basically. But yeah, he grew up there and managed to sort of go to university and basically better himself, and so he sort of moved back to Padford, got a wife, got children and stuff, and he fought for the rights of the fields to still be classed as a part of Padford, so the children from the fields could go to St Thomas's, to school and stuff, and have basically the opportunities that he had in his life to sort of better himself. I mean, obviously not all of them take said opportunities, but you know, having the opportunity there is better than not having the opportunity to go to a very decent school, or having to be forced to go to another school which might not be as good for the children to sort of teach them, because obviously within being as a council estate, it's not the best place to live. It's got a lot of people who are unemployed, people who are druggies and criminals and stuff like that. Sort of the worst place to sort of grow up. And obviously throughout the book it sort of makes these points about a particular family, the Whedons, who live on the fields, and be like, oh yeah, there's this mother Terry, who quite understandably, from the way her life has gone, being assaulted both physically and sexually by her father during her young life, sort of thing. and made it sort of, I think, 10 potentially to two drugs, and then she had a string of unsuccessful boyfriends again. Some of them abused both her and the children she had with them, so her life was really tough, so you can quite understand her turning to drugs to sort of take away the pain she felt and stuff like that. And then you have her daughter Crystal, who is not a druggie. She's not the best kid in the world. She smokes. She's out of school and stuff like that, and she willingly gives sex to a few people. But she's not quite on the level of bad that Terry was, and she, with the help of her grandmother, she sort of better herself a bit by being able to stay with her grandmother for a while, and she sort of takes part in the school rowing club run by Barry. But at the start of the book, Barry dies, and so it's sort of like that's sort of the plot of the book is he dies, and these people who live in Pikeford are having to deal with his death, because obviously he was quite a few people will miss him. He's got his best friends and all that sort of stuff, and obviously this opens up a council seat, and so another a larger section of the book is start with the election for a new councillor, and this has sort of like the political intrigue stuff of fighting between two factions. That we've got the pro-fielders who want to keep the fields part of Pikeford, and then you've got the anti-fielders who want to sort of chuck it back to Yarville, and you have the fighting between these two groups and all this sort of stuff. Throughout the course of the book, a couple of people are like, "Wait, I'll try and be elected," and then you have their kids who again interact with each other, and you've got like these relationships between the parents, the kids, and some people hate each other, some people like each other. Everyone seems to know everyone in this place, sort of thing, and it's quite interesting. And the kids who are sort of like belittled by their parents sometimes, particularly when you see Andrew Price, whose father, Simon Price, is not the best father in the world. He's sort of a controlling guy. He likes to be in control. He likes to do things on the fly, so he'll buy some stolen goods and so that sort of stuff. He gambles a little bit and takes chances, but he's also like quite a angry and fearsome guy. He sort of shouts quite a lot at his children if something goes wrong. He takes it out on his wife and children, and during the course of the book you see he sort of is violent towards them because of something that basically Andrew sort of like doesn't want his father to become councillor, so he uses the form of the Padford Council website. He hacks into it, poses himself as the ghost of Barry, and basically writes a report on Simon in a sort of third person way, of saying, oh yeah, this guy, he does jobs on the sly, he's bought stolen goods, he shouldn't be a councillor kind of deal. And obviously Simon learns this, takes it out on them, and eventually he loses his job through that and stuff. And this happens a couple of times with a couple of other kids going to take out on their parents what they can't sort of do in person because their parents sort of like treat them badly. Like there's one guy called Zooks. I'm not going to try and pronounce her actual name because it's of Indian origin and I fuck it up, but she's nicknamed Zooks by her friend Gia. I try and pronounce that, but I think that's probably wrong. Who sort of recently moved to Bagford, and she's bullied a lot at school by Fats, who's best mate to Andy. So she's been cutting herself, and her mother is very disappointed in her because she's not as bright and as intelligent as her other two children. So she's sort of like, "You're such a disappointment to me. You should be better than this. You've got to try hard." And that sort of, demeaning manner of parents. Even she's trying to sort of encourage her to be better, but she does it in a dismissive manner that isn't the best. It's like you have different types of parenting styles, and that one again is valid. Trying to sort of encourage your child with maybe put downs, and be like, "Oh, I'm disappointed in you," so the child will think, "Oh, I'm not liking disappointing my parents. I've got to try harder." But sometimes it's like, particularly with Sukes, who's got dyslexia and stuff, she can't be as smart as the other two people because she struggles because of her dyslexia and stuff. And you shouldn't be so hard on her because of it. You should be proud of the child you have rather than trying to force her to be better when she struggles with it, and you should support her the best to your ability. So she's been like cutting herself because both of her parents, or mostly her mother's disappointment, and Fat's bullying. And so at one point in the books, her mother's really very disappointed in her because she tries to turn at one point because of the bullying, and so her mother has a rant at her and says she'd write something up about her mother on the website using the same Ghost of Barry sort of pseudonym, and that causes more rumour and gossip and all that sort of stuff. And this happens again to Colin Wall, who's trying to be elected, and it says his son Fats who writes this up. And then one last time about Howard Mollison, who's sort of the first citizen of Padford. He's sort of the chairman of the council, and this was done by Andrew and Simon. So sort of Simon's like, "Andrew, you're going to work for Howard," because he becomes pot boy to trying to get closer to girls he's got a crush on. So I think find anything dirty, report back to me, so I can, because he thinks that Howard / Shirley's the one who's put up this bad stuff about him, because he was the first target, so he would sort of get revenge on them, and he sort of finally succeeds in getting a bit of dirt on Howard. So he tells his father, and then they put up the last post of the Ghost of Barry sort of thing. And yeah, but it's quite interesting book, how the relationships between different groups of people plays out, and how they react to the death of Barry, and sort of the events that go on, and the discussion of the fields and stuff like that. And the book covers quite a few themes on sort of like teenage sex and stuff, bullying, cyberbullying, drugs, band obsession sort of, in the terms of one character who's sort of the older generation of, she's in her 40s, she becomes obsessed with this boy band who her daughter really likes, and sort of has fantasies about said boy band. It's okay, sure, but he wants to feel young again, sort of thing. And it's again these sort of similarities to like One Direction or something like that, where you have both the young screaming girls and potentially the older females going after them, who sort of liked boy bands back in their day. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this book and spent a good amount of time last night and this morning just finishing it up pretty much, because it got really, like, it's been interesting throughout, but it got really like cool towards the end. It has quite a few interesting events happen for it, and I actually would recommend you to read it if you liked Harry Potter and wanted something else by J K Rowling. I don't like being grown up with Harry Potter, but you want to read something a lot more mature now, because you are mature technically. This book definitely does that, because it's not a child book. It does visually describe sex and stuff like drugs and stuff that are quite a lot of adult themes that Harry Potter didn't really cover. But yeah, I would recommend it. I enjoyed it. It's a good read. And that's all I've got to say about it. So I'll see you guys next time for another video. I'll figure out what I'll be talking about next. Peace out, girls and scouts.